Hey everyone, it's Jack here, TalkNorwichCity. Welcome back to another video. Hope you're all doing very well indeed. Now, yesterday's video was an incredibly exciting one, wasn't it? It was about Matthias Kvistgaarden. Very exciting, up-and-coming Danish international, looking set to sign for Norwich City. With good comes bad. And unfortunately at the moment, Josh Sargent is being continually linked with a move away from Norwich City. Now, we could kind of expect that this was going to happen. We knew that there were going to be rumours circulating. It was just around what point does this start to happen. There have been murmurs early on in the transfer window. It was Roma, then Wolfsburg came calling, and now it's the one that might really hurt. Premier League interest for Josh Sargent with two particular clubs in the running. They are Leeds United and they are Burnley, two clubs freshly promoted into the Premier League, seeking goals. What does Josh Sargent do? Josh Sargent scores goals. Now, there was a report, I think it was yesterday or Friday, from the Pinken, who I must say have been brilliant reporting the transfer window all summer. So a big shout out to all those guys who are working incredibly hard for us Norwich City fans and providing us the news. So thank you to the Pinken and all of our local news outlets who do a wonderful job. And actually, I must say, just we should be really thankful as Norwich City fans. There is as much coverage as there is. It's not common for a Championship club to have this much coverage. So thank you to Pinken, thank you to Radio Norfolk. All of you guys are absolutely brilliant. But can you stop reporting on Josh Sargent having a potential move away, as I am doing right now? The interesting line, though, out of that latest article reporting on Sargent's potential move was the fee that was quoted. Now, we knew that Roma were in earlier this summer. We knew that there was clubs from MLS last summer, and they just kind of got battered away. It was like, you're not offering the money we want. Goodbye, basically. And the good thing with Norwich City and Josh Sargent is we have negotiating power. Josh Sargent's contract runs until 2028. And you look at the stats on screen here, 33 Championship appearances last season, 15 goals and 4 assists. He didn't play too much, well, he missed so much of the season, didn't he, through injury, and that was the case the previous season as well. When Josh Sargent plays football matches, he scores goals. You just need to keep him fit, basically. So we knew there was going to be interest. We knew that some clubs have come in and haven't met the asking price for Josh Sargent, but it was never very clear what that asking price was. You can make it up in your mind. You can have a guess what you think it might be. And I think in my head, it was probably north of £20 million. This is a 25-year-old striker with time left on his contract, knocking on the door of the US international team, played Premier League football, best striker in the Championship. That demands a pretty hefty price tag. And Norwich know that if they're going to have to replace Josh Sargent, are we going to be able to get a striker in for less than £20 million that's going to replicate Josh Sargent's attributes? I don't think we will. I don't think that kind of player is out there. I think that if we sell Sargent, clubs then know that we've got money. That then puts a bit of a tax on things. I just don't see a world where you get a player in his prime that's capable of guaranteed Championship goals, which Josh Sargent is for south of £20 million. So I was surprised when I saw that the kind of stated value for Josh Sargent was £16 million. Now, that's what the Pinken are saying that the asking price is for Josh Sargent. The latest news is that Wolfsburg came way short of that. And look, they may bump that offer up and that may happen. But that has now led Leeds and Burnley for being interested in Josh Sargent. And it makes sense, particularly with Leeds. Daniel Farke was the one that pushed this Josh Sargent deal through to Norwich. He liked Sargent, he wanted him, he did everything he can to get him, and he ended up getting him. He was the one that really made that happen. It wasn't Stuart Webber that kind of really pushed that through. So Farke is a huge fan of Josh Sargent. And maybe it was a bit early for Sargent last time in the Premier League. He was early, very early 20s. He had the weight on his shoulders and he was trying to keep a pretty poor Norwich City side in the Premier League, and he was played out wide and it just didn't work out for him. 4 years on, a few more seasons under his belt at championship level, he has bulked out, he has become a confident individual. You could see quite easily Josh Sargent slotting into a Premier League side and scoring some goals. And for £16 million in the current market, that's not even a risk for a Leeds United. They've got money. They've got this new investment that's come in. They've made a huge amount of sales over the last few seasons, and they will chuck cash at trying to survive in the Premier League. So they're probably looking at this and going, it's an absolute no-brainer. Even if we get 5, 6, 7 goals out of him, that's worth £16 million. There have been far more expensive players moved to Premier League clubs, 30, 40, 50 million pound players moved to Premier League clubs that have ended up doing nothing. I think if Josh Sargent gets dropped into a decent Premier League outfit, and look, whether it's Leeds or Burnley, they are going to be in and around the bottom 3 for the majority of next season. I would say Leeds have a more fighting chance than Burnley do. But it's a good opportunity. And I think Sargent is at that point in his career now where he's probably wanting to kick on. I've become slightly more confident that Josh Sargent maybe stays at Norwich City in recent weeks just because, it was funny seeing everyone getting quite excited that the fact that he'd been pictured in the new Norwich City kit. I wouldn't read too much into that. It's probably just a contractual obligation that he has to turn up for certain photo shoots. But it was exciting and he looked great in the new kit, which is lovely, by the way. But I don't think Sargent is the type to throw the toys out of the pram. I think Ben Napper will try and hold out for a bit more than 16 million. I'd be really disappointed. I'll put it out there now. I'd be really disappointed if Sargent ends up going for less than 20. I think 20 is the absolute bare minimum in my eyes. Would a Leeds or a Burnley pay 20 million for Josh Sargent? I think they probably would. I mean, are Leeds fans mad about Josh Sargent? I assume they probably remember Josh Sargent from his Premier League days and probably haven't watched too much of Norwich City since. Of course, you do have the injury concerns, and that will be a concern, and that will knock his price down somewhat. But I think Sargent could quite easily move into a Premier League outfit and do really well. It also feels, I mean, we were talking yesterday about a potential kind of £14 million move for Matthias Kvistgaard. It's difficult because Sargent will already be on a pretty chunky contract and it's still got 3 years left on it. So there's not a huge amount you can do in order to really make that attractive for him to stay. But he knows that he will play every game. I just love it. It was like when we had Buendia and Maddison and Sarr and those players that you just know are so influential and so brilliant. You're just thinking in your head, give us another season. Give us another season. Imagine Liam Manning football with a slightly better squad and decent wingers, good service, fit for the season. What we could do with Josh Sargent up top. The reports are only intensifying around the move away for Josh Sargent. And I knew at some point firm Premier League interest would come. And that's exactly what's happened now. So it would really sting, I think, to see him playing in the Premier League with another football club, because I always thought that we could do that with Josh Sargent at Norwich City. It would sting even more if he went for 16 million quid, because I just don't think that's enough. I think, with the contract situation, with the career he's had so far, with what else is out there in the current market state, if it's anything less than £20 million, I'll be really disappointed. So there we go. That's the latest. Leeds United and Burnley in for him. I know we have lots of Leeds and Burnley fans that watch the videos. Let me know what you think. Is that an exciting rumour for you, Josh Sargent? Or are you thinking you want someone else? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. And more importantly, Norwich City fans, let's just assume at this stage that Sargent is leaving. Let's get the pain out early doors. Let's assume that he leaves. And if he stays, then brilliant. What would be the price that would satisfy you, that doesn't make that departure as painful? Let me know down in the comment section below. For me, it's 20 million quid. If you get 20 million quid, it's kind of like, okay, we've doubled our money plus a little bit more on him. We've got some great seasons out of him. Good luck to the lad. Anything less, that's going to leave a little bit of pain. Thanks very much for watching. And I'll see you all again very soon. Bye-bye.